Yeah, I think he's off to a good start overall. You know, the first game we got him into a good rhythm, and I think that's what didn't happen the other night. When you talk about offense and rhythm and all those things, and I think there's a lot of ways that affect rhythm, whether it's sometimes it's penalties, sometimes it's either way it's negative plays. We didn't have a ton of penalties the other night, but we did have some missed opportunities because we just didn't get some things communicated, and that happens sometimes against a good opponent on the road. But I think, you know, I like where Bryce is. One of the things we talked about was taking care of the football. He's done that. He's been very, very good with his hand, you know, keeping two hands on it in the pocket, not throwing it into a lot of traffic. So that's good, but lots to build off of out of that game, and hopefully a lot to learn from.
Why do you think you weren't able to get in the rhythm on Saturday?
Yeah, I think it's, you know, first of all, you got to give some credibility to Oklahoma. They had a good defense. They do a good job. They've improved their defense, and they were really good last year. So I think that starts with that. But I also think, you know, going into that game, we were like, hey, we need to win the time of possession. We need to not turn the ball over. And to win the time of possession, you have to be good on third downs, and we weren't. And I think that's the story of the game. You know, when you're not, you know, our goal is to be 50% on third downs. We weren't that, and therefore we didn't get to stay on the field. Therefore, their offense plays more plays. I mean, everything kind of ties together. So, you know, for us, you know, we didn't play to our standard, that's for sure. The standard I expect us to play at here in Michigan, and the standard that I have set for our offense. So, you know, I think you got to look first of all internally and go back and say, okay, you know, we had a good week of practice. We thought we had a great plan, and then looking back, we just didn't get it done. And I think anytime you do that, you self-reflect. And our guys have really responded, you know, this week and worked real hard at improving in that area for sure. Yeah, I mean, I think there was definitely you know, a philosophy of, hey, to win this game as a team. I think everything starts with how do we win the game. You know, that's what we're about here to, you know, and really, I think to do that. Again, it goes back to possessing the ball, and really, if we execute on third downs a little better and stay on the field, I think things play out a little different for us, and we didn't get that done. But you know, there was definitely a concerted effort to, you know, make sure that we tried to possess the ball and do a good job of that, and obviously we didn't do it good enough.
And then just a thought on the run game as well through 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot, like a handful of big plays, but
Yeah.
a lot that probably aren't what you hoped for.
Yeah, I think first game, we had 4 explosive runs, and last week we had 1. And I think some of it's the opponent, they're better, I get that too, but we need more explosive runs. We need to create more opportunities for that. Hopefully we'll continue to do that. You know, I was really pleased with the first game. We had, you know, we didn't have 2 and 3 yard runs. We had 6 to 8 yard runs and then a couple of explosives or a few. So definitely an area we got to improve on. Yeah, no, I think quarterback runs are in our game plan every week. In fact, last week, I think three that I know of, we had to give the ball just based on what the defense was doing. Another was a designed keep run that we didn't block correctly. So we'll continue to have that opportunity. It's definitely something we want to, you know, showcase when possible and when it makes sense. And Bryce is very capable of doing a great job of that. I think more sometimes just getting beat. I don't think there were a ton of missed assignments, but in every run scheme, there's a way to block it. And then, okay, they're giving this look. Here's our adjustment. Everybody's got to be on the same page with that. So it might have been a couple of those. And losing a guy like Gio, I think, a veteran guy who can help with some of that. Crip does a great job, but some of that's growing pains you go through, I think, when you got some young guys in young spots. But no excuse. We got to get it done. We got to make sure as coaches we get it done with them and put them in the best position possible. No, not really. You know, I think you can't coach hoping that doesn't happen. You know, I think you got to coach the game and play. There are opportunities for him to run that haven't come up because I think teams expect him to run some. So if you're reading the defensive end and he stays in his spot, you're not going to pull it and take the risk you're going to hand the ball off. That's happened several times, but I'm very confident in the guys we have. I think Jaden Davis has made a lot of progress. I think Jake Garcia and Mikey but are all capable. Mikey's still working through his trying to get healthy, but no, I don't think that's a factor at all. Gio's a really good player. I want to say that first. He's a veteran, has played a lot, very steady guy. You know, I think our guys that stepped in did a solid job filling in for him. That was encouraging seeing that happen. But we did have a couple of things in there that need to clean up that you feel like Gio maybe gets right. But at the end of the day, it's next man up. You know, we didn't have Marlon the other night either. It's the next man up mentality. That's kind of the way our program's wired. And, you know, those guys will get back as soon as they can.